the night her location went dark. I still remember the exact moment my stomach dropped. I was texting her good night, just like I always did, when I noticed her location was off. She always shared it with me. Not because I asked, but because it made us both feel safe. But that night, silence. I asked if everything was okay. She replied with a sweet message telling me she was safe. I asked if her home Wi-Fi was down again. She said she turned it off, so her parents wouldn't know where she was. That didn't sit right with me. Something about it felt off, especially since she'd gone out with a guy she had once described as just a friend. They had spent the day together at the mall, and somehow, it ended with a party at his place. Loud music, drinks. And then, he invited her to see his bedroom because of how hilariously tiny it was. She followed him upstairs. What happened next, she told me the next morning. That he kept pushing. That she said she needed to leave. That her parents were waiting. But he pressured her. And eventually she gave in. Not out of want, but because saying no felt useless. She told her friends about it, and they told her it was rope, coercion, assault. But as she told me that story, my heart broke not just from what happened, but from everything she left out. She never told him about me. She didn't say she had a boyfriend. She kept me a secret while she spent the entire day with someone she used to have feelings for. And when she turned off her location, not for her safety but to hide from her parents, I realized she was hiding from me too. That night I didn't just lose trust. I lost something else. Something I couldn't quite name at the time. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment our relationship died. The call I almost answered. The next morning I could barely focus. My family was visiting, people I rarely get to see, some from across the country. I should have been soaking in every moment with them. But instead I was glued to my phone, waiting, hoping. That's when the message came in. She told me she had cheated. Just like that. No preamble. No explanation. Just a confession that shattered me. Then not long after came the twist. She said it wasn't cheating, it was rope. Her friends had convinced her she was assaulted, not unfaithful. My mind couldn't even process it. I wanted to scream and cry and protect her all at once. I didn't know which emotion to feel first. Rage? Betrayal? Grief? But I swallowed it all and just asked if she was okay. I sent her a picture I'd drawn, something comforting, silly, a pair of hugging geese just to make her smile. I told her I was here, that I'd come over, that I'd listen. That I just wanted to make sure she was safe. She told me no. Said she was with another guy friend, someone different, and that they were spending the day together. While I was crumbling inside, while I was pacing my house and checking my phone every 5 minutes, she was with someone else again. I stopped messaging. I didn't want to pressure her. I tried to focus on my family, tried to bury the ache under laughter and old stories. But that night the phone rang. She was crying. Said she needed me. Asked if she could send an Uber. Told me she couldn't be alone. That I was the only one she could trust. And I almost went. God, I almost did. But I was drunk. The kind of drunk that numbs your soul more than your body. I had promised my family, people who were trying to hold me up, that I wouldn't answer her call if they let me near the whiskey. And so I said no. The sound of her voice cracked in my ear before she hung up. She called again the next day begging me to come over. And while she cried on the phone, I was sitting across from my sister. A woman who had survived the very thing my girlfriend claimed happened to her. A woman who looked me in the eye and said, "This isn't just about what happened to her. It's about what she did to you." And that's when I realized, I wasn't just mourning her pain. I was mourning a love that had already betrayed me, long before that night, her midterm, my breakdown. After all that, I went back. I know how pathetic that sounds. But when someone you've poured your entire heart into cries and says they can't do this alone, it becomes hard to walk away, even when you know you should. She had a midterm to finish. Said she couldn't focus, couldn't breathe unless I was there. So I sat beside her. I watched her write while I tried to hold myself together. She aced the exam, smiling as if nothing had shattered between us, while I sat beside her drowning in silence. We cuddled that night. And for a moment I let myself pretend that we were okay. That things could go back to the way they were. I was desperate to believe the storm had passed. That maybe I was overreacting. That maybe I could forgive. But something in me wouldn't let go. The things she had done before that night started coming back like echoes. The break she called months ago. The guy she kissed. The time she refused to call us exclusive, said she wasn't ready, even though we acted like a couple. The gaslighting, the mixed signals, the moments I stayed quiet just to keep her from walking away. My sister warned me. Told me that comforting her after the breakup would only pull me deeper into the cycle. And she was right. Because just days later I found myself standing in front of the mirror, staring at a man I no longer recognized. My eyes were hollow. My voice felt foreign. And somewhere in the back of my mind I knew I hadn't just lost trust in her. I had lost trust in myself. But then something happened that shook me even harder. I remembered something she had said once, laughing at how oblivious I used to be when we first started dating. How I missed red flags that were right in my face. And suddenly it hit me. Maybe I hadn't missed them. Maybe I had ignored them. Because deep down I knew that if I faced the truth, I'd have to admit that the person I loved never really loved me back the same way. And I wasn't ready to accept that. Not yet. Chapter 4, The Last Thread. I tried. I really did. I told myself I could rebuild the trust. That if I just gave us time, we could stitch the pieces back together. But love isn't something you can sew back together with hope alone. Not when every thread you pull reminds you how it unraveled in the first place. She started slipping again. The promises she made, gone. The guy she swore to block? I found out they'd been seeing each other again. Secretly. Just like before. She said it was platonic. That he was just someone to talk to. But I'd heard those words before. And they always came before the damage. I found out she had taken the train into my city just to meet him. Not meet him. And she made it seem like a sacrifice for our relationship. Told me she hated the commute. Said she was making all the effort. All while meeting him at the station while I was working a shift I picked up to afford her birthday gift. She would lie with the same lips that kissed me goodnight. I watched her wear both faces like second nature, the victim and the manipulator. And I wanted so badly to believe she was still just hurt. That the good in her was buried under the trauma. That I could help her dig it out. But then I caught her slipping again. Not just in words but in patterns. The way she'd guilt-trip me when I pulled away. The way she'd cry on cue. The way she'd suddenly need me when I started collecting my things. And then it shifted. The gaslighting returned. The emotional jabs. The cruel accusations. I was the bad guy now, for not trusting her. For not being able to just let the past go. I tried reasoning. I tried defending myself. But every time I spoke, she twisted my words until I wasn't even sure what I was saying anymore. She made me question my memory, my morals, my reality. I wanted to leave. But every time I packed a bag she made me stay. And I think, part of me wanted to stay. Not because I loved her anymore. But because I couldn't stand the thought that the person I had fought so hard to keep was never really mine to begin with. The final moment came one evening when she looked me in the eye and said, "You never really loved me. If you did, you'd still be here." And for the first time I didn't flinch. I just looked back at her and whispered, "Maybe I did love you. Maybe that's why I stayed this long. But loving you broke me." What she said next still rings in my ears. I wrote myself free. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. She just stared at me and said with chilling calmness, "You think you know me? You never did. And you never will." That's when I knew I was done trying to understand someone who made a game of hiding the truth. I left that night. Not all at once. Not with a dramatic exit. But quietly. I packed my things slowly over days. Each item I took back felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. She noticed. Tried to reel me in again. The gaslighting flipped back into apologies. Into love bombing. Into "you're my everything." But I had already heard every version of her story, every twist of the knife. She wasn't trying to fix what was broken. She was trying to keep control. I stopped engaging. I stopped responding. I started writing. All the things I never said, all the pain I swallowed, I put it into words. 43 pages of unsent letters. Every lie, every betrayal, every night I stayed up wondering if I was the problem, it all poured out. And when I read it back, I didn't see a man who failed to hold a relationship together. I saw a man who survived one. That's when I cut contact. Fully. She tried using everything, Steam, a CVS receipt, a chess site, even Duolingo reactions. Like breadcrumbs meant to lure me back into the woods. But I didn't follow. Instead I walked forward. I got into therapy. Was diagnosed with moderate depression, but for the first time I felt hopeful. I joined a support group. Started spending time with family again. Really spending time. I helped my sister plan her wedding. I passed my finals. I even started looking at someone new, not with desperation but curiosity. And slowly life stopped feeling like a battlefield. It started feeling like mine. She doesn't haunt me anymore. She's a scar. Not an open wound. And when I look back now, I don't feel regret. I feel proud. Because I gave everything I had to someone who didn't deserve it, and I still managed to find something left for myself. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I'm free.